I'm Adrien, and we're from a multidisciplinary design studio.
Hi, I'm Ming from Penang. We've been doing landscape for the past 5 years. For this particular documentary, we've been toying with the idea of designing spaces that has a very good feng shui for the plants. We have 5 key elements that we are looking at. The first one being water, second being sunshine, third being earth, the fourth being the airflow, the fifth is the ambient and the music that the plants are being put at.
So Cantona is basically a space behind Chungshan building where initially we wanted to turn into a bar before the COVID, but it's because during the pandemic time, we decided to do an ever-changing sort of art installation things that we always wanted to do.
Plants relies on water to absorb all the nutrients from the ground. So having the right amount of water actually determines the livelihood of the plants. So we are always very concerned about positioning the plants at the right location so that it's easier for people to look after.
I think water is the only element that is ever flowing and ever changing, and I think in the space we wanted something more dynamic, and there was this one art installation that keeps getting rejected by our clients, which is the conveyor belt. The art installation would promote curiosity and wonder. We wanted to experiment with different things, for example, putting different things on it and letting it move around the space so we can constantly evolve it over the time. Conveyor belt is a beautiful piece of thing that could move around the space, and we wanted to celebrate that, and I think that represents water for our space.
So for sunshine, light condition is also a very, very important element. Plants generally, they need about 8 to 10 hours of sunlight to survive. For example, one of our projects such as Dodo Bake in PJ, the sun actually plays it's kind of one of the characters of the space, because if you are in the space for the whole day, you actually can experience the sunrise and the sunset. The movement of the shadows in the garden actually allows you to feel that you are alive. There's also this term called komorabi in Japanese. It means sunlight going through leaves and casting shadows onto the floor, which are moving. So it's kind of like dancing shadows.
For light, we are looking into the qualities and different kinds of lighting in this space. There are many ways that light could be manipulated, whether it can be diffused, whether it can be bounced, whether it can be reflected, and maybe even different colored lights. For this space, because it's ever-changing and it's from the evening or from day to night, we have this installation of different disco balls where it could reflect the lighting. We even have this yellow PVC curtain that changes the light from the outside, turning yellow into the inside. And we're still experimenting. We are still trying to figure out how different moods can be changed throughout the day.
Earth itself, it's made out of so many different kind of minerals and rocks. And first thing when you're looking at the kind of soil or media that you want to put your plant in is to actually try to understand where the plant is originally from, where is the original habitat of the particular plant. So when you are choosing the media, you try to choose a medium which is as close as possible to the original habitat of the plant. The installation that we did in Sentul for the Beyond event, we were thinking of designing a garden, but because traditionally a garden is kind of like a paradise, so the concept of paradise or a garden being not permanent, because the charcoal that we use is meant to like fade off, so the initial framework of a garden will eventually dissolve, and then you can experience the venue itself.
So earth is where the building structure itself, where we hack down the beam to have an exposed beam, and also we hack down some of the walls to have the inside and the outside to be connected, and also like we have the nature to like get everything like come together.
A lot of times, if the space is enclosed and not open, the air is kind of stagnant. Maybe the plant won't suffocate as soon as us humans, but they also gradually suffocate inside an enclosed space as well when the airflow is not good. We collaborated with both Toti and Xingtian. So Toti experiments a lot with hanging mobiles. Hanging mobiles work as moving sculptures, so we felt it's to have her mobile in our work actually kind of highlight the element of the flow of things.
Being an open air bar makes air an integral element in this space. We want air to circulate throughout. We've knocked on a lot of the walls and we want to introduce a lot of ceiling fans in an art installation way.
Yes.
We were envisioning ceiling fans along the ceiling where they move around like that. And on the conveyor belt, which were mentioned from the water element, we want to put tiny little portable fans that circulates.
Music to plants maybe is not in the sense of the music that we listen on the radio, but it's more like if you go into the jungle in the evening, you hear a lot of insects, crickets and frogs. Like they will start humming and make noise, and then that becomes kind of like a music that they are attuned to. Sound frequency does portray the emotions of the creatures who are living around the plants. Feel good music where you have your plants actually does help the growth of your house plant or your garden plants.
So for music, is the last element. So if you know us, you know that we love karaoke and we like to bring people together, and music is the only element will like bring all the people like moving around and it create a good feng shui in the space.
I think by understanding these elements, not put too much weight on your own idea of self, but more of really experiencing what each space has to offer. When you're able to understand all these elements, to us it becomes like a beautiful piece of jazz music where sometimes it doesn't have to always follow one particular rhythm.
I think when it comes to feng shui or any other sort of element you're talking about, there's always a sense of balance, and it's all about balancing the highs and the lows. There can never be too much of one element or it will corrode the other. So in creating cantata, we are still figuring out whether the light is stronger than the water element or the air is not sufficient. And I think a good space is where someone actually figures out all these right elements and in harmony with one another.
I guess like creating a space is having, yes, you're right, having everything which is in balance, and you can't have the light like take over the air or like the air taking over too much of the earth. So everything has to like come to a balance, just like life.